Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. We're back. Be it popular demand. It's not really any demand, really, for me to stream, but we're back anyways. We're doing it because I want to do it and because I like it. So, because I like it, you're forced to like it too. That way, everybody's happy. It's forced happiness, but we're all happy. But, anyways, it's time for the final Premier League match predictions. And we are going to be discussing the away trip to Brighton for Manchester United. Difficult game. Difficult game. One in which many other teams will go there and find quite easy. You just play your way. Brighton will play theirs. You spring a trap here and there. You catch them out. They'll play themselves into trouble. And happy days, you create some chances and convert them, score some goals, win the game. For Manchester United, though, we know how the story goes. We know how this fairy tale ends. It's always Manchester United that like to make life difficult for themselves. So we're not just going to be talking about Man United against Brighton at the Amex. We'll be talking about every other game because everybody else plays that day. Many different battles going on, many different outcomes that have strong implications. Well, I say implications, more so results. Big results. And everyone plays at the same time, so it's going to be the busiest footballing day in the world. The busiest. And it's not just us. There's the French League, Ligue 1, they're playing their last game. Syria, I think they're playing their last game as well. And so are the Liga, amongst a couple of others. Well. We're going to be going through all of those. All of them games. Every single one of them. Big ups to Jaminho. How we doing, buddy? Big up, Fuzzy. I've been dragged to another concert. Got to say, it is good. Nice. Not the biggest ABBA fan myself. I do like some of their songs, they're pretty good. But yeah, probably not as far as to say that I'll go to concerts, but hey, as long as you're enjoying it, as long as it's bearable, maybe it feels less like a sacrifice, you're less of a sacrificial lamb type ordeal. So you'll be all right. You'll be all right. Maybe if you start belting out some ABBA classics on the car back, I think you might show your true colours. You must be delighted that Amrabat only has 2 games left as United player. It's funny you say that, Jamina, because he's been one of the better performers in the previous 2 games as is. So one of those where it's like, then you sort of start showing that they can be good when they're about to leave, when they're about to be gone, when it's about to be too late to say or do anything that has any meaning. So, if he's saving it till last, then hopefully he saves enough of it for the FA Cup final, wins us the trophy, and then, jets off back to Italy. Do us a favour. Amrabat. Not the best, Fuzzy. Fractured my wrist the other day. Hope you're well. Oof. Hope you haven't been doing your best Raya impressions. Actually, to be fair, if you're doing your best Raya impression, you probably end up spraining your ankles and trying to kick a ball. Yeah. I think Raya's a bit more sort of leg injuries because you'll try or an art. Well, actually, if you're an Arna, you'll just have withdrawal symptoms from standing away from the goal line. So, yeah, he likes his lines. He really does. Several weeks about how bad he is, and in case he drops an 8 out of 10 performance against Arsenal. Arsenal and also Newcastle is he's quite pivotal in that game. Very, very similar performances actually. The good parts of his performance were the same. The not so good parts of his performance were the same between Arsenal and Newcastle. Hey, you could play again. He could play again against Brighton and have 3 for 3. Do you know what? If he does that, then hell yeah, go into the FA Cup final, and he would have found himself a bit of consistency. A bit of consistency. Can't go wrong with a bit of consistency. But Brighton, we'll start with Man United against Brighton, and we'll go down the full fixture list as we do. Big up for Anthony and Jaminho. Big ups to Stephanie. Big ups to you. Now, it's going to be a strange one. It's going to be a strange one when we sort of get to the end of Premier League football. For United, we've still got the FA Cup final. But the end of the season is very much nigh. And do you know what? A part of me is actually looking forward to it. Just relief that it's over now. That the suffering, the bad part of the season, all the suffering we've had to endure is going to be over, right? And we could start to focus on different things. A United supporter can realize that there's more to life than enduring painful, depressing, morally depriving 90 minutes football matches week in, week out. I mean, it's going to be special. It's going to be special for them. They're going to realize that, life away from the TV screen watching, the Red Devils trying to string 5-yard passes together, it's going to hit different. It's going to feel different. These people are going to be seeing the light of day. They're just not going to know what to make of it all. You're standing there marveling at how beautiful nature is. Hear all the birds tweeting. Hear all the wind rustling through the trees, touching the blades of grass. There's going to be all sorts of crazy experiences that we're going to have when football's not around. Yeah, it was from a goalkeeping incident. Came off my line, had to run back and punched one full strength with one hand. Didn't have gloves on either. Gosh, you'd always got to get yourself some gloves. Proper goalkeeping gloves. Tell you what, you get as a goalkeeper, I always got confidence boosters when I was wearing goalkeeping gloves or gloves of some kind. I don't know why, but it's just confidence boosters. And that was whilst I was trying to be a goalkeeper on concrete. They were brutal. Those were some brutal days. Being the goalkeeper on a concrete surface, yeah. You never know how tough it is for somebody, and you never know until you've been the goalkeeper on concrete. But yeah, hopefully your wrist gets better. There's a very strong possibility we will never see McShine and Brett start together ever again. It's good for all football. That's terrible for rivals, because one of the rivals would end up probably having Scott McTominay. That people haven't thought about that. The rivals, they're enjoying this. They're enjoying sipping on the rich taste of banter. Seeing Scott McTominay playing for Man United and knowing full well he would never make it to my club until you get the tabloids. They come out and they start talking about them inevitable links. I'll tell you what, it will be absolutely outrageously incredible if Mikel Arteta looked at Scott McTominay and thought, do you know who would be great for a title charge next season? Yeah. Super Scott McTominay. Can you imagine? I swear to God, 90% of Top Gooners are literally becoming the biggest Arteta hater. Actually, no, that's wrong. They wouldn't. They wouldn't. They literally would turn every negative into a positive, even though there is literally no positive outcome. They would still find a way to say that Scott McTominay is better than the likes of Prime, Vieira, and Roy Keane. They'll find a way. They'll find a way. Or better yet, Mikel Arteta. You probably play him somewhere like a fullback position. You know, you might have Zinchenko playing on the left at left back. You might have Scott McTominay playing on right back. You know, get Thomas Partey. We'll drop him to the bench again. Play McTominay at right back. You move Ben White into midfield. You know, it just sounds like a Michael Arteta thing to do. Second time I fractured that wrist, Fuzzy. I've broken it 3 times too. 2 of the breaks. The other fracture happened at the same time too. Yeah. I don't know. Your wrists have got the Martial syndrome, mate. Literally, man stands up to start walking somewhere, probably trying to go from his sofa to his fridge to get a beer out. He probably snaps his Achilles tendon just by standing up. Crazy stuff. And the thing is he's back in training, by the way. Anthony Martial, I shit you not. Martial is back in training, along with a huge amount of that injury list. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I think Wayne Rooney is right about that squad. The Amrabat left back shifts at the start of the season. Yeah. Amrabat was like, mate, play him in midfield, give him a partner, and stick with that. No, let's play mountain midfield and stick Amrabat out on left back. God only knows. If it's on Scott McTominay, I'll be fuming. Well, mate, it's like what I said with the last match preview for the Newcastle game. You know, the goodbyes have begun. You know, the farewells have started. Several people saying, yeah, look, it's over for those players. And it's looking like there are people acting with a bit more decisiveness, a little bit more decisiveness. It feels like there is an air of that in the approach to sorting out what needs to be sorted out. Now, we've got talks of players being linked to Man United. Of course, talks about the managerial situation as well. Xavi committing career suicide at Barcelona opens the door potentially to either Mikel Arteta or to Eric Ten Hag. I mean, some people think it's hilarious that Barcelona would want Ten Hag. Well, I mean, people forget Barcelona's a club that keeps making bad decisions, a bit like Man United. Bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Ten Hag being linked to that job, it fits the bill. It really does. Really, really fits the bill. I will be 1 billion times angrier than I was when we signed Rice. And you know how pissed I was then. Yeah. At least Rice is sort of he's put himself in some higher graces, I think, with you. So McTominay will just put himself in the doldrums. Oh yeah, he'll stick himself right in shit creek, and he will smile at you whilst you're screaming at him. He'll literally be laughing. Trip Vic, how are we doing, buddy? Good to see you. Smack around the like buttons, guys. Yeah, please do. Please do. Smash them likes. Smash them likes. Subscribe. All of that fantastic stuff. And let's get this ting going. Let's get this ting going. Martial's a prick. As incompetent as a Milky Bar kid. The Milky Bars are great, though. Nah, to some. You know, it's a solid white chocolate bar. But when it comes to football, white chocolate's not so great. It's not so great. So McShite somehow holds a record for quickest brace in Prem history, and there's the latest one too. Yeah. That's why Jorginho. That's why Arsenal need to sign him. You know, he's a record breaker in the Premier League. God, get it done. Sign him, man. Give us a solid 20, 30 million for him, and he's all yours. You know, record breaking braces. There you go, dying embers of the game. Who needs a Reese screamer? Who needs a Reese moment? We can have a Mackie Terminator. You know, Mackie Terminator. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, you could have it all. You could have it all. I would absolutely love to see the meltdowns, though, if Arsenal were to end up signing McTominay. Take McTominay, please, anyone. Literally, I would love to see people try and, you know, throw off Scott McTominay out here. Get him off, get him out of our transfer news. We don't want him. We don't want him. Say no to McTominay. People might actually protest at certain clubs. They seriously would. Don't sign this player. We had a little bit of it at in the summer when we were looking at strikers. Marko Arnautovic. When we were linked to him, everyone said, no, don't get him. Everybody all over social medias and all of that stuff, constantly just, yeah, pretty much. That's why I'm drinking water and chocolate milk. McShite to Rangers. I mean, he could do, but Rangers probably can't afford him, which is mad to think about. We'll throw in a Bruno for cheap Arsenal. Throw in a Bruno. Talk about Fernandes. I don't think he's leaving. I don't think Bruno is going to be leaving Man United. Bruno Guimaraes, you had the chance. Arsenal had the chance to sign him and ended up going to Newcastle. Yeah. I'd start a protest. I think most people would. There'll be someone already, 10 steps ahead of you. There'll be planes in the skies with banners everywhere. Trust me. You wanted Arnautovic and then triple motting. What's United's weird fetish for former Stoke flops? Maybe there's a deal that we don't know about where it's like we gave a Man United flop to Stoke. We gave him Diouf. Everybody remember Diouf? He went there and fit right in. Maybe that's what we're trying to do, is sign the Stoke City flop and hope that reverse, it works in reverse so that they step up and fit into a Man United shirt. I don't know. That's just me talking shite. But hey, some of us live in a weird fantasy world. Like Top Gooners fancy Mikel Arteta, but that's by the by. That is indeed by the by. Now, what do we have to say about this Brighton game? Brighton definitely have had an underwhelming season. I'll say that they've had an underwhelming season for me. Brighton, they talk a good game with, well, De Zerbi most certainly talks a good game about his approach to how he plays football, the setup, the style, the principles, philosophies. It talks a good game, but ultimately, when it comes to the big moments on the pitch, delivering when the team needs you to deliver most, there's been more. I think too many occasions, right? Too many occasions where the Zerbi ball has not really found. It's not struck gold. It's not done the job it's needed to do. We've seen where it can provide some good entertainment, but one thing is very apparent is that unless you are a team that really just gives Brighton what they want, you enact a counter plan to Brighton with a high press. Mistakes are bound to occur. Mistakes are bound to happen. And one thing that has become very obvious is that Brighton don't really go into games with the idea of a plan B or a plan C or a plan D, or really just a secondary setup into the style, right? Or maybe trying to evolve the style. Try and tweak little parts of your style that sits up to date with the game, and which you find in those scenarios where a manager like Pep has tweaked his Pep Guardiola style down the years to try and stay, those 2 steps ahead of the competition. So whilst everyone's busy copying, mastering the previous game plans of Pep Guardiola, Pep's playing a fresher, a different style that works well against his previous style. So Pep's trying to essentially play off the premise that everyone's following him, right? And if you ask some certain managers, you'd probably get that sort of an answer, because I mean, some people will say, well, it's copying Pep. I think certain managers would shamelessly admit that. They'll say, yeah, no, I'm copying Pep. Other managers look at the style and think, cool, I'll put my spin on it and see how it works, and I'll sit by my principles, fully believing that it's going to be what ultimately brings me success in football. But, in reality of the situation, that's not really going to be the case. It's not really going to be the case at all. So as far as De Zerbi is concerned, maybe if he's doing it for another club where the football's more ideal, it's more stylistically suited, where not everybody is trying to sort of outdo one another with, who's got the best style of play. I think if De Zerbi finds the right, because I mean, before Brighton he was what, Shakhtar Donetsk manager, and out there, I mean, in certain leagues, if you are somewhat the best team in that league, or close to be the best team in that league, it is so very easy to employ a style of play that instantly, immediately looks tenfold times better than anybody else. And maybe it draws a false narrative, false conclusions. Everyone sees this manager playing some sumptuous stuff, but everyone immediately believes, oh, next big thing. The only way really to prove that a manager's going to be next big thing to be quite frankly honest, is if they take their style to a really competitive league with high quality individuals and ultimately find success. Xabi Alonso has taken a Bayer Leverkusen team, gone up against other teams of similar squad quality, player by player, and also squads better than them. So you got Bayern, you got Dortmund, you got RB Leipzig. So there's three teams straight away there that give Leverkusen a run for their money for player quality. And your first ever season. I mean, compare the two. Arsenal challenging in the Premier League for a Prem title with a first time manager like Arteta, right? It should be the equivalent of a Bayer Leverkusen beating Bayern Munich to the Bundesliga title. It should be the equivalent, because I think the gap, well, actually, the gaps between the quality between the Bayern squad and the Leverkusen squad is actually it's a bit bigger than the difference in quality between an Arsenal and Manchester City. So I look at Xabi Alonso and I think, well, Jesus, he's literally first ever season, leading a team, managing a team, and he's done some fantastic work. He could literally, I don't know if they've actually been beaten this season. I honestly don't know if they have been beaten, if they've been defeated once this season. Have they been beaten once? No. Not once. So, let's be real. Xabi Alonso, I know a lot of people might say, well, he's another guy, he's up and coming, he's immediately a hipster choice. If you're going to come into management and hit the first season the right way, there is not a season in history that you'd want. That might be a bit rich, but there's not many, if any, seasons for a first-time manager to have than a Xabi Alonso season at Bayer Leverkusen, where you've beaten an unstoppable Bayern Munich, the team that seems to win Bundesliga every single year. Thanks to Xabi Alonso walking in the door at Bayer Leverkusen, hey presto, Bayern are not winning it today. We'll take it. Thank you very much. And not only that, we'll go undefeated. Undefeated, literally. Give them a golden Bundesliga title. Give them a golden, because the Bundesliga trophies, it's like the Community Shield, right? It's like a dinner plate. Give them a golden one. Do something special for them, because it's by Leverkusen, okay, in Bundesliga. A lot of people call it Farmers League. They're still unbeaten in all competitions. It's not Bayern Munich. This is by Leverkusen. Leverkusen, unbeaten in every competitions. That's mad. And the manager leading that team is literally a managerial virgin, or he's just lost his virginity in August. This is literally his first season in football as a manager. And he's going undefeated. I mean, Mikel Arteta and Top Gooners wish that Mikel Arteta's breakout season was as good as Xabi Alonso's breakout season is. Any manager would. Any manager would. I mean, It is crazy. But yeah, that's in terms of just talking about styles of play. And with Roberto De Zerbi, it feels like, again, hype because there's clips. And the thing is people need to remember, when it comes down to clips of teams, undergoing passages of play, it's so easy to get caught up in your feelings with it, because the clips, even if it's a compilation that goes on for about 10-20 minutes, that's just it. You watch about 10-20 minutes worth of football, and that compilation is taking clips of this style of play from about, what, 20 different matches, 20-30 different matches. So you mean to tell me that about 20 minutes worth of good football is worth a manager being classed, rated super highly, but it be spread out across an entire season? Yes, guys, we want to play 20 minutes of good football this season. What do you mean, boss? Is that like the first game? We want to play 20 minutes? No. Try and fit in about 20 minutes of good football in all of the matches that we'll play this season. There's your compilation. Literally, take a clip of all of those 1 minute passages of play per game, stick it together as a compilation. That team is going to look so good, so good, that everyone's going to go raving mad about a manager. They don't see everything wrong. There's about 89, well, technically 90 plus with all the added time and whatnot, 90 plus minutes of football that isn't so good. So yeah, for me, I don't really think that Roberto De Zerbi is a prophet for football. I just think that he's a guy that had a great idea, that worked in the Ukrainian league, brought it to Brighton, took over from Potter. Brighton, looked good with certain talents that they had in the team. They sold them off, tried to replenish. Replenishment has shown that the quality of player they're bringing in is not as good as players they previously let go, and it's slowly pushing the gradient down. Mama Biram Diouf was serious for start. He was pretty good for him. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty good for him. De Zerbi and Brighton are washed now. I just feel like that with De Zerbi, something else I've called him this season, as well as the Tinker Man. The guy likes to take a plan A, literally leave it as a plan A, say, well, we're going to play this way, but I'm going to change the shape, change the size. I'm going to make the team set up on the pitch look like an elephant. Haha. Going to make it look like an elephant. Going to shape it like a seagull. You're going to make player shapes, make shapes on the pitch with all the different positions. You'll make it look like a seagull. And we're going to play the De Zerbi way. And it's like, come on, really? And he changes it. He changes it from game to game. And it doesn't look like it's settled in the Premier League. It just goes from week to week, different outcomes, different levels of performance, and it's paid a fairly hefty price as well. So yeah, for me, De Zerbi, he's got to find more to his game. He's got to find more than what he's doing right now. All the women are singing, "Give me a fuzzy night, fuzzy after midnight." I think they like you. Give me a fuzzy after midnight. Yeah, maybe, possibly. I mean, to be fair, I was elected back in the secondary school days. Back in my day, I was elected prom king. I was voted by my entire year as one of the best looking guys out there. Maybe they just saw the light. They saw the light back then. They saw the infinite trajectory that I was on. They saw the path. They saw the greatness that was to be. And maybe that's where it all started, The journey of the Fuzzmeister began when the potential was realised. I became the star boy of my school year that Arsenal wish that Bukayo Saka was a star boy. If you want tips, Bukayo Saka on how to be a real star boy, come talk to me. I can help you out. I can show you the way. Evening to Arsenal Manic as well. How are we doing? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, we're doing good. Doing good over here. It's going to be a bit of a longish stream because we are going to be talking about all sorts. We're sort of going through gradually the Man United Brighton game. And then we're also going to be talking briefly about the other games that are happening on the same day, as well as perhaps a couple of news stories about Manchester United's summer transfer window and insights, a little insight, perhaps what to expect, which is going to be interesting because there's a lot more noise, way more noise, it feels like, sort of heading towards the closure of this season than there was the previous several years where we needed a big overhaul. So it's going to be interesting. For me, I think for the team that we've had playing, I think we need to keep it more or less the same. I do. I think the performances we saw against Arsenal was a team that lacked quality in the crucial areas. It did. It lacked quality. Of course, better finishing is required. We saw some better finishing against Newcastle, so it fixed that part of the game, but I still feel like there's still too many individual mistakes that can come to the surface, that can rise to the surface with this team. So I think that maybe, I don't know, in terms of how the squad or player management side of things are going to go, because there's probably the thoughts of, keeping the FA Cup final in mind and being ultimately prepared for that game, to put in, the best performance all season. And if we do put in the best performance we've done all season, I think we can get a result against Man City. I do. I think we can. I think it is possible. But it does require, as I've said, probably the best performance United would have had all season. Now, in any case of logic, that shouldn't be feasible. That shouldn't be possible. But it's Man United. It is literally Man United. You go from it being, oh well, this United team, they're gonna get relegated. They look worse than the relegation side. They look worse than Sheffield United getting pumped into double figures. But then you get another game where it's like, well, that team put in such a strong performance. So that team, they put in such a strong performance that immediately you think, well, this is the second coming. The second coming is now here. Like, this United team, it's onto something. We're starting something. This is where the season begins. I can't really say it's going to be where the season begins because it's literally the last game of the season. So, do I expect anything all that special? Not really. Do I expect something similar to what we had performance-wise against Arsenal and Newcastle? Yes, I do. I genuinely do. I think that there is the last game is the last chance for some of those players to cement themselves a starting position in the FA Cup final. So if you want that FA Cup final starting position, you have got to throw everything you have at this Brighton game. And not only that, but there's possibly still, at least a European place to play for. Newcastle are the team that are the threat at the moment. They're currently sat ahead of us in goal difference. If Newcastle don't beat Brentford on the final day, then the door opens for us to seize the opportunity and ultimately take the last European position. I think Chelsea currently sat 3 points ahead of us, so there's no chance of us getting Europa League. It's literally just Europa Conference, but we can upgrade. It's like you guarantee yourself. It's like you're you're getting into economy. You're on the plane into Europe, right? You book the economy seat. That's the Europa Conference League. You can get, by completing a challenge, the upgrade into the solid business class seat, right? You're thinking, I would like that. I would like that. I really do want that. The FA Cup final. FA Cup final is the challenge. You need to get that seat. You need to get that seat. Get yourself up into the business class and put yourself into Europa League. Upgrade the competition. Qualify yourself for the better competition. Just so that when we go into next season, unlike a certain, the second coming of Christ in the best looking Spaniard that North Londoners know, we have more competitions next season that we can potentially win, that we can fight for. And unlike some of those guys, as a United supporter, I believe a Manchester United in a competition is a competition for Man United to win. And the one at the very least that Man United should be taking seriously and competing for. Every single competition, no matter what phase you're in, no matter what stage you're in, does not matter. Are you in a competition, yes or no? Can a team that's entered into that competition win the competition, yes or no? Those two questions, the answers are yes. So why not try? Seriously, why not try? So if we're in Europa Conference League, I will say, okay, cool. People will say, look at them in Conference League. Well, it would actually be quite funny. It would be quite funny if United were in Conference League. Everyone spends the whole season laughing at United being in UEFA Conference League, right? And at the end of it, United are champions of the Conference League, whereas everybody else that were in European competitions got knocked out and failed to win their competition. And also better trophy accumulation. Can't forget that, and it's, in these words, the predefined metric, in these words, repeat after me, whether you like to hear it or not. The truth can be as bitter as it needs to be to you. You can plug your ears as much as you want. The truth, embrace the truth, people. It will set you free. Our truth 101. But the predefined metric for success in football is trophies. It is. And that's what the conversations about club greatness is all about. How great was my club? You talk about trophies. That's just how it is. Don't really remember talking about all of these styles of plays and these sexy passing patterns that teams were playing at that time. I mean, no one really remembers those. The history books don't care about, capturing that. They want to talk about what did those patterns win. Was it victorious? Was it successful? Did it bring home silverware? What legacy was left behind? Because when you look at success, you think, oh wow, so they achieved that. and let's look into how they achieved it. So if people ultimately care about styles of plays, philosophies, sexy footballs, processes, ultimately you have to be successful anyway, so that when it comes back to the point where you look back into the history books, at least then when people study why you were successful, that's when you get your time to shine. You get to say, well, once upon a time I backed a process. It went through XYZ amount of phases and it brought trophies. It brought trophies. The thing is that it should be the case that no matter how long it takes to win a trophy, that there is a nature about a club where they take every competition seriously, and you look back in the season and say, well, it's unlucky that we didn't win this competition because we were close to. That Arsenal team, for example, and Tottenham team, Arsenal, Tottenham, I mean, Chelsea have a bit of a dead team. A bit of a dead team. They were still in the Carabao Cup final. Still. Liverpool overhauled a midfield. A team that I think is still quite lightweight in that midfield. Still won the Carabao Cup. They still won a trophy with it. It's like people can say, well, that Liverpool team is undergoing a process to rejuvenating its quality and its able ability to actively compete for Premier League titles, Champions Leagues, and ultimately find success. But they're still in the process of finding their identity. They're winning all the side quests, they're completing all the side missions. So the fans can actually back it more, believe in it more, because there's a nature about that process where it's like, well, that's the end goal, is to be victorious in every competition and every endeavour. So we're winning a Carabao Cup here and there. At the end of a process, you're winning every trophy because the clubs become attuned to success, because it's wired mentally to vary its approach to each competition with the sole aim of winning it. So that's a long, convoluted, twisted tale about success in football and how clubs go about, doing the business. And I think that's where clubs need to be. And you know what, with Manchester United, if it's Conference League we have to sit in, then Conference League trophy, I will be more than willing to accept us competing for. But ultimately, I want us to see us do well in the competition. I want to see us go as deep as we possibly can, and ultimately pick up the silverware at the end of the season. As for a scoreline to this game, what do I think is going to happen with this game? I think quite an open game. I think with as long as keeping that midfield duo the same. I think maybe Casemiro either moving to midfield or being benched potentially, because the Mainu Amrabat midfield pairing I think is looking really good. It's looking really, really good. Probably I don't know, maybe Martinez starts on the bench again just to ease him in, to get him into the FA Cup final starting position. That if maybe starting him against Brighton might play a bit of a risk, and that's the thing, is Ten Hag that's the last thing Ten Hag wants, to play some risk players and then lose them yet again on the eve of a Manchester Derby FA Cup final. That's the last thing he'd want to have happen. So we'll have to see how the approach to the squad handling will be, but just to entertain the probabilities, the prospects that maybe we get the likes of Martinez finding his way back into the team to step alongside maybe someone like a Johnny Evans if he's fit and available. I mean, Rafael Varane is in training as well. Maybe he's going to feature on the bench as well, or start, probably on the bench, just to warm the centre back partnership up and to be ready for the Manchester derby. You know, maybe that's what the plan is. Maybe that is what the plan is. But yeah, unfortunately, the fullbacks are going to have to stay the same. Delo and Wan-Bissaka, because Luke Shaw's dead, and well, Malacia died, right? Luke Shaw probably went on an investigation to try and find where Malacia's body is, and ultimately ended up getting killed as well. So yeah, Luke Shaw's his body's probably stashed somewhere where Malacia's body is. Do you think an FA Cup victory would secure Ten Hag for another season? I suppose that's the question on a lot of people's minds. For me, based off of history, that Louis van Gaal, but on the basis of not qualifying for Champions League, won the FA Cup, secured Europa League, which, by the way, Mourinho won the Europa League the very first season he came to United, which was the very next season, and Van Gaal was still sacked. He was still sacked. Van Gaal was still sacked after an FA Cup. Maximiliano Allegri, trophy won a couple of days ago, sacked. So, I mean, we've seen in recent times that I suppose it would be a ruthless, like a really, really ruthless thing, that if Ten Hag wins the FA Cup and gets sacked, I know a lot of fans that are pro Ten Hag would be quite up in arms about it. But do you know what? I'd look at it and think, well, to be fair, where results to the regime coming in has laid bare to what it wants to do, you know, in terms of trying to build this club back up, that even though there's a bit of success, there's also a standard that hasn't been met. So what do you do when a standard doesn't meet expectation? Consequences are bound to happen. So you might win an FA Cup, but it's not enough to save your job. So, I mean, if we're going off of recent history, I'll probably say no. It doesn't secure, the trophy itself doesn't secure Ten Hag another season. It's just, what do Ineos want, or what do they think is going to be the best strategical plan in place for Manchester United going into the summer. But if we're looking at a score prediction, if I have to predict one, for this game, I'm thinking I'll probably go with I'd say like a 3-2 United. I think a 3-2 United probably play out quite similarly to how the Newcastle game played out. I think you'll see quite a few positives, quite a few glaring negatives, and maybe it'll get people feeling a bit panicky for the FA Cup final. But ultimately, I think when we get into that game, I think it will be a different sort of Man United, a Man United that's desperate to prove something. Especially some of those players will definitely want to prove themselves. So I'm going with a 3-2. I think it could be quite a hectic game. I think it's definitely that sort of a fixture. That is, it could, there's all sorts of ways in which this game could pan out. It could even turn into a boring 1-0. It could, where both teams look quite blunt. Nobody's sharp. Nobody's quite got the minerals to land. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's it's going to be interesting to see who's keeping an eye on what, because considering everybody else's team is playing at the same time, I think everybody's just going to be watching their own game. So as for Man United getting bantered, there probably could be another couple banterings this weekend as well. I think it's possible. But ultimately, I probably wouldn't be too surprised if we did end up losing this game. I wouldn't be surprised, but seeing us giving what we've given, or some of those players what they have given for this team over the last two games, it gives me a bit of hope. A little beacon of hope, a beacon of light. I think that there is something that we can, something there that we can look forward to, and if we get it against Brighton, it sets us up very nicely, I feel, for the FA Cup final, and it'll be the best source of confidence that we can have taking into that game. So that's the Brighton Man United side of predictions, or what I think about that fixture. And ultimately, there are 9 other games happening at the exact same time, starting from the top, working our way down. Arsenal versus Everton. Now, if Man City should do the unthinkable and find a way to ultimately screw things up against West Ham, judging that we don't get a Sean Dyche masterclass turning up at the Emirates, Arsenal still have a foot. It's like it's separated into thirds. Arsenal have a third of a foot in the door for the Premier League. Man City have 2, 2 points advantage. But ultimately, based off of how results go for the day, it can flip things right around. Man City, if they lose and Arsenal win the lead by 1 point. Man City draw and Arsenal win, tied on points, but Arsenal would have better goal difference. So there's various different ways, and it just cements that the last game for Man City is also really, really must win. They're at the Etihad, but it's not really in any doubt of how this game is going to go. Kind of like Arsenal-Everton, I don't really think people question the outcome of this game all too much. I think people sort of know that Arsenal, it's final day of the season. Arsenal usually turn the style on a little bit in the final game of the season. But if they do fail to win, it would be very systematic of the mentality of Arsenal Football Club. I do feel like it's like you give everything to the very last. It's like Arsenal, if they win their last game, it's like they would have claimed maximum points in the final run-in. It's like Arsenal and Man City competing in a hurdle sprint, except Arsenal at different stages, a couple of hurdles dotted around that length, they've tripped over or they've clipped. They've lost a bit of time. Man City can get clipped a couple of times, but they finish the race really strongly and consistently. So they're not really making any mistakes. Meanwhile, the Arsenal runner still clips a couple of players here and there, so he can't build momentum quite as well as the Man City runner can. So, it's going to be one of those where it's like you finished second place, you finished the season really, really strongly, but you look back on it and say, why were we not better back in that part of the season? Why did we not do better against that team? Why didn't we get maximum points against that team? So, for instance, Fulham, Arsenal, you know, a draw and what, a loss? A draw and a loss? Was it? So it was 2-1 to Fulham at Craven Cottage, and it was 2-2 at the Emirates. 10-man Fulham, by the way, at the Emirates. You know, there's certain pinpoint games dotted throughout the season for Arsenal where it's going to be they'll kick themselves for that. So we can say that they didn't bottle the Premier League season. We'll just say the management of the season was not quite it. It's not quite it. The management of the season, what stage of the season are you exposed in, and what part of the season do you strengthen? And I think Arsenal have come up quite short in how they've managed the season. I think certain degrees the man management from Arteta has shown a bit of frailty this season, in terms of how he wants to balance the team. Kai Havertz, starting between number 9, but also in the midfield position. That's not a dilemma that Arsenal can afford to have. It's essentially stuck him up top now as a number 9, as like I suppose in terms of a role like a Firmino, because Firmino wasn't really all about the finishing aspect of his game, but rather being sort of a central link up in that part of the pitch where he was assists galore. So not really a goal scorer, sat in a striker's position. I think that's a big problem for Arsenal moving forwards, because they need a goal scorer in those positions. They don't need a Firmino. They need a solid striker. Jesus Christ. A solid number 9, which City have, which Chelsea have. Nicholas Jackson, moonwalking everywhere. No, I'm just joking. No. Jackson at Chelsea, no chance. I think City's probably thereabouts it for a team with a solid number 9, with a striker, a goal scorer in the team. Darwin Núñez doesn't really cut it for Liverpool enough. Of course, Jackson doesn't really cut it enough for Chelsea. Højlund, he's not in that role. He doesn't really have the ability to be an out-and-out goal scorer. Maybe with consistently improved service, he could rack up a really respectable tally. Tottenham have a pigeon up front. They let go one of the best strikers in Prem history to back Richarlison, but it's okay. They're loving Big Ange instead, and they're loving his fat highline, so it's all okay over in that hood. Aside from that, no one else really has any strikers or goal scorers. Now, dependent on what the business is this summer for all of these teams, I think everybody's got different plans. Everybody's got different ideas, different names. Man United have got quite a few names already on their shortlist for people that they want to get, and a couple of names we'll talk about in a moment or two. Go through the rest of the games this weekend, and we'll see yet again another summer, another showing of who's here to play serious and who's here just for the vibes. We'll have to see. But yeah, Arsenal, Everton. Which way do I see this going? I'm going to go with 3-1 to Arsenal. I think Everton, their need for proving something this season for me is done. They've proved what they needed to do. They've had their points deductions here and there, the rule breaches, trouble with FFP. So yeah, they've had their problems, but the job, the task, though the goalpost has probably moved a bit, ultimately they've done the job that they needed to do. So I can't see there's a lot of incentive here for Everton to really do much, um, work. So I think it's going to be a favourable, um, sort of semi-party atmosphere at the Emirates. I don't know why there would be, but maybe it would be a party feeling or party vibes at the Emirates because Arsenal could win the Prem, maybe. But yeah, for me, Arsenal take this one. Brentford versus Newcastle. Race for 7th place. This is between us and Newcastle. Brentford have been a bit disappointing because as somebody who I think for some of the players that they have, they can put in some good performances and deliver some good results, but too many times in too many fixtures, I feel like where Brentford would be the team to back, they come up short. They do like to come up short, and for me, Newcastle, because there'll be a bit of incentive for them. I know they're quite weak at the moment. A couple of players came back though for them against Man United, so maybe a change of starting lineups on the pitch could net Newcastle a positive result. And to be quite frankly honest, I think it probably end up going that way. I will say a 2-1 to Newcastle. So for me, yeah, Newcastle probably will end up snatching it last minute, last game of the season. Hopefully, that means that we have to give absolutely the extra in the FA Cup final to secure us European football next season. But we'll have to see. Burnley versus Nottingham Forest. So already relegated Burnley versus Nottingham Forest. It's going to be an interesting atmosphere, I think, at Burnley. Probably not a huge. They might actually be quite busy at Burnley. I think people just taking in the last Premier League game at Turf Moor for at least a little while. Might be worthwhile for the communities there just to sort of soak in the weekend, match day weekend, one last time before setting sail for the Championship. And for Forest, I think it's just they'll have this sense of relief. I do feel that there'll be a sense of relief that the season's all said and done. Trouble talk that they want to invoke themselves in. That save themselves for the summer and sort out their business there, strengthen the squad, so that the only way that they'll ever get relegated next season would be because the FA just don't want them there, basically, which would be a bit ludicrous. But you never truly know with the FA. You never truly know when they will begin the ultimate villain arc. That is the PGMOL and the English FA and all of those groups. They're always the little shit stirrers. Them little shit stirrers. But as far as the scoreline for that game goes, I probably favour Nottingham Forest again. I'd like to think another 2-1 here. Probably not a fast-paced game. Just a game that sort of it simmers. It's like that. It's like you cook something up, you give it all the intense heat and everything, and then the instructions say we'll leave it to simmer. You stick it on the low cooking temp and leave it at that. I think there'll be little bits to enjoy of the game, but not a mad, crazy jumpy affair like maybe it would have been if Burnley and Nottingham Forest were still fighting for Premier League survival. As we know, Burnley definitely going down. Can Forest still go down? Not really, to be honest. I mean, yeah, no, they can't. I mean, unless Luton absolutely demolish their opponents, Fulham, which is definitely not going to happen. I think Luton are guaranteed relegation, which would be a shame for them. It would be a shame for them, but that's just the nature of the beast. We'll actually cover Fulham next. Luton, Fulham. Now, Luton are a team that I've appreciated. I think that they've had moments that they've come up quite short in. Like, for instance, all the big games that they keep taking the games right down to the wire and then losing it with last minute heartbreak. I think has been the theme one too many times this season. If you're going to go for an upset, you've got to at least get a couple of them across the line. It's all well and good getting close, you're tipping them, trying to tip over the edge. But if you're not going to get over the line, then ultimately it's not going to have good reading for you when it comes down to when it matters most. And Luton, they've had opportunities. They've had some good results. They have had some good results this season, but not enough. They've shown good fight and good spirit, and they've made some games entertaining. They have, but not quite enough for the Premier League survival. Not quite enough. And it's a shame. It's a shame. They'll go back down to the Championship, and it's going to matter massively what the club message is. Are they going to, sit around in the Championship doing Norwich, and try and bide their time, or are they going to say, well, look, we've shown that we can cause problems in the Premier League, use this Championship to build something, build that sort of good nature feeling where it's like, yeah, we're going to go get the Premier League promotion again, but we're going to do it with even better players. You get the parachute payments, probably spend a little bit, just enough to get you to quality for promotion, and then you probably then save enough of the big bucks to then spend some more in actually strengthening the squad when you get promoted the next time around, so that you're not really dealing with the championship lineup in the Premier League, that there's a bit of quality to back you up there. So I think, yeah, Luton, it's a shame, but make the most of it. Make the most of the situation. Fulham, right down the middle of the pack. Not really anything great or negative to say about them. They've had their ups and downs this season, and of course, providing a big twist in the tail for the Premier League title picture for Arsenal. Of course, taking 4 points out of 6 against Arsenal, and providing just that bloody ball ache team. It's when it's like, yeah, Fulham not quite got the quality there. We should be able to beat them, and then they just turn a dial, and all of a sudden the result doesn't go your way. There they are. They've taken 3 points or a point off of you, or 3 or 2 points off of you, and it's incredibly frustrating. Wouldn't say quite the team that everybody fears playing, but it's the team that I think a lot of people write off, and they just grab you at the last second. And I feel like Fulham have done that part of the job this season relatively well. But yeah, for me, final day, I'd like to say that Luton get a send-off win for the Premier League football. I'll say I'll go with a one. I'll go with a 2-1 to Fulham. To Fulham to Luton. I'll give him a 2-1 to Luton. I 2-1 or even a 2-0 potentially, but Luton have shown still got frailties in that team, which is not all that great. But still, you win the last game, you're relegated, you're heartbroken, but ultimately you stayed there, and you know, ultimately you look back on it and say, well, I got to watch Luton in the Premier League. You know, that's something memorable for me. Let's hope we can get back there ASAP. And yeah, but I just got home Fuzzy. Started at 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. It was down the road from me, the Abbott concert. It's not in a neighbour's back garden, was it? You can still hear the Warm Down band playing. Jesus Christ. How many ABBA songs have you sung between the time you've got from the concert to home? Fuzzy missed our show on Wednesday. Tony got caught watching Pornhub at work. So that's why the airport came to a standstill. There's no, it's no coincidence. It's called Stansted. Yeah. Tony was enjoying his time frivolously, enjoying his time at Stansted, and enjoyed it so much he brought Stansted to a standstill. Thank you for the plaudits for my dead humour. Absolutely dead humour. So dead that the only person laughing was Queen Elizabeth. God bless Her Majesty. Jesus Christ. But anyways, Chelsea Bournemouth. I'm gonna say this won't be a 2-2. I'll go with a 2-2. I think Chelsea will score a couple goals. Bournemouth will score a few. There'll be the gentleman's agreement. They'll shake hands. Chelsea, I think, off the back of last season was beyond abysmal. This season, there's a bit of an improvement. Just a slither of an improvement. Just a slither. I mean, cup final in the season. You know, in the Premier League, you've had some fairly good performances, some fairly convincing results, but too many times this season, Chelsea have lost their mentality, lost a winning mentality, and almost become a club that looks clueless at sea, just not really knowing what to do. So pivotal that they found their direction late in the day, and that they put themselves in as good of a position as they can be. Because I remember Chelsea fans saying, "You think we're going to get Europe next season? Are you fucking deluded? Are you deluded?" Well, you got Europe. You got Europe this season. You've pretty much confirmed it. Question Fuzzy, is Man City winning the league? Yeah, sorry, they are. And the Newcastle Man United was a good game. It was a good game too. It was. Plenty of positives to take away from that result. And I was fairly happy with the result. Very happy with the result. But yeah, for me, 2-2 gentleman's agreement with Chelsea and Bournemouth. Bournemouth, fairly good season. You know, I'd say above average for them, especially since not too long ago they were teetering on relegation themselves, and ultimately put themselves into a good position. And well, since then, little bit of a fall off here and there, but they've steadied themselves. They're all right. They're all right. They're all right. Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa. Champions League qualified Aston Villa against a hot off the press Glasner Crystal Palace. yeah, entertaining game. I think entertaining game, definitely worth a watch. If you are a neutral that doesn't support any other Prem team, I'm going to go with this one being a. I'm going to go with this being a 3. Somebody's scoring 3 that game. I'm going to go. I'm going to go 3-2 Aston Villa. It's right split down the middle. I think there will be a winner in this game, but I think Aston Villa might just clinch it. But I won't be surprised if Palace do walk away with a victory in this game as well, because I think that they've got more than enough ability to do so. And with some of their talents, pending Man United bound being one of them in the red and blue, you know, well, one of the players we'll talk about after I've just finished these match predictions and score predictions. For me, Crystal Palace, really, really good stuff. And, you know, if you're a Palace fan, there's plenty to look forward to. Really plenty to look forward to. Glasner's doing a good job from since he's come in. And, you know, for your case, long may it continue. Hopefully next season when you play us, you're shit. And we can take 6 points off of you. That would be fantastic. But hopefully Michael Elise can help us to the 6-pointer. But yeah, well, we'll have to see what happens with that. But yeah, for me, 3-2 Aston Villa. Don't be surprised if it goes and swings the other way and favours Crystal Palace. Tuchel, Thomas Tuchel staying at Bayern Munich, I've heard now, Fuzzy. So Ten Hag might stay now. Well, I've actually heard a bit different. I have heard a bit different. Supposedly, they're not coming to an agreement between Bayern and Tuchel. They're not coming to an agreement that there is still very much the highest likely possibility that Tuchel will leave Bayern in the summer. Because the managerial search for Bayern is not going so well. It's not going so well. That's where that's probably come from. And yeah, I think even Tuchel has said, well, as much as I may be tempted, I think I'm thinking better of it here, guys. And probably turning down the offer to go look somewhere else. Man United could be on the agenda. Xavi could get sacked from Barcelona. Barcelona could choose between Mikel Arteta, try and pry him away from Arsenal, or take Ten Hag. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But watch this space. This summer's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. Liverpool versus Wolves. 3-0 to Liverpool. Simply put, 3-0. Final home game, or final game for Jurgen Klopp. The ultimate send-off. The performance will be there. The Kop end will be absolutely rammed. I think all the sections of Anfield will be absolutely rammed. There'll be people all over the place, all over that part of Liverpool, that part of Merseyside. And there's going to be a lot of people feeling really emotional. There's going to be a lot of tears. Like, for me, I don't know why you're crying over a manager. I never cried over Ferguson as much as, you know, I wanted to. I never did. But yeah, it's just going to be emotional for them. You know, the end of the Kloppy era. You gotta fucking do it for Kloppy, you know. You gotta fucking do it for Kloppy, for Kloppo, do it for Kloppo. But yeah, I think it's going to be a comfortable game for Liverpool. This one should be a comfortable game. I think Klopp will go to Barcelona in 2 years' time. You think there's more behind the scene at Liverpool? I would probably say maybe we just have to see what it is that maybe Michael Edwards is cooking up, because I know that he's got more say-so, more power. And I think it was him and Klopp that worked together to build a team that was winning trophies. Ultimately, it's now going to be up to him to find somebody else that he can help or direct a project that will, you know, build a manager, a team that that ultimately achieved success as well as what Klopp did with the same side. But I don't know if it's going to be quite as successful. Depends on how serious Liverpool, the setup, is upstairs, especially with FSG still around. They're it's not like they've suddenly turned into saints or something. They're still very much inept for the most part, owners of a football club. So yeah, they're still the same problems. They're not changed overnight. They're not changed their faces. They're still the same old, same old. Man City versus West Ham, the title decider. Yeah. Sorry to Tony. Sorry, not sorry. And also, sorry, not sorry to Anthony. I'm going to go with this Man City game being I'm going to go 5-1. 5-1 to Man City. I think they're going to be jumping. They're going to be bouncing. The Etihad is going to be absolutely just. Everyone's going to be there because it's the trophy day, trophy parade of the Premier League title. So there's going to be all sorts of things going on at the Etihad in that time of the afternoon. West Ham will opt to try and. Well, I mean, it's another London club that could end up winning the Premier League title. So maybe they'll shamelessly throw the game, or maybe they'll have a little bit of a go. The thing is even if they do have a bit of a go, they might still come up quite short against Man City. So it's not really a win-lose here for West Ham. It's for me. It's more of a lose-lose. To be honest. What was your Arsenal-Everton prediction, Fuzzy? I went with 3-1 Arsenal. I went with a 3-1 Arsenal. I think it'll be a comfortable final day. It'll be a comfortable final day, but ultimately it's going to end up futile because Man City will have themselves a relatively comfortable day as well. And I think it's just going to be, everyone hopes for that miracle. Fingers crossed West Ham. Pray a long time, guys. Pray along. You'll get to the first 10 minutes and City will be 1-0 up and everybody will be like screaming and cheering at all the different ends of the Emirates, and then silence. Shh. Library settings. First goal goes in at the Etihad. Arsenal fans, dead silent. I seriously think it'll be completely dead silent. There'll be raucous atmosphere for the teams walking out the tunnel. First couple minutes, Arsenal giving everything, early shots on goal. Pickford's making some great saves, and everyone's like, yeah, come on Arsenal. And then the score thing will come. It's like, Haaland's just buried an absolute wonder strike. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Here we go again, 4p on the cards, and that's probably how it's going to end up being. So, so it's a bit like the reaction that United fans had when Aguero still scored the fucking winning goal against QPR. Those little throwing pieces of shit match fixers that absolutely wanted to see Fergie lose another league title. I mean, imagine that if Fergie won that season. Fuck me. That would have been something. Man City would have had to have waited a little bit longer for their Premier League success. Then again, it might have meant that we wouldn't have won the season the following year, to be fair. But yeah, who knows? Sheffield United versus Tottenham. Ange Postecoglou rates it out of 10, his first season at Tottenham Hotspur. I'm going to go with I'll go with a 5 out of 10. First season for Ange, 5 out of 10 in terms of the outcome. The idea, the vibes, the start, everything was on course to that solid 7, 8 out of 10 season. First season, Good stuff. A good layer of the foundations to really getting on board with an Ange Postecoglou regime at Tottenham. Yeah, it's ice cold. It is ice cold. You're finishing the season with zero credibility in the bank. Zero credibility. The only thing really going for Tottenham right now is that they are in Europa League. They've improved from 8th place to 5th. And they'll have Europa League next season. But Ange Postecoglou, summer number 2, does Daniel Levy back him? We go back to the same question. Does Daniel Levy back Ange Postecoglou in the summer? I think you will see there'll be a couple of signings that Ange will be, yeah, I'm happy about that. There'll be a couple of signings that Ange will look at like, why is he here? Yeah, that's not a Postecoglou signing. That's a Daniel Levy signing. I think there'll be a bit of that going on. A bit of a maybe a power struggle of influence. So yeah, not perhaps not the most brightest futures for Tottenham, but there could be a bit of hope there. Maybe I mean, Jesus Christ, it would be in the case of trying to ask for Daniel Levy to turn a new leaf, which I don't think he's really all that capable of doing, to be fair. So, it would be more of the same. It would be more of the same. But Sheffield United is the opposition for this game. Already relegated, rock bottom. Not a care in the world for the competition. They weren't serious in the summer transfer window to begin with. So the second that I saw the transfer business they were doing, strengthening their promotion rivals, for me, they were relegated then. Fuzzy, what would you rate United's season so far? But you're in the FA Cup final. Also, I've got United three finals in 2 years. This season, I mean, last season, I think I sort of gave it about a 6 or 7 out of 10 for a first season. This season, I mean, probably a 3 out of 10 season. 3 out of 10 season with an FA Cup final. If we win the FA Cup, then 4, maybe 5 out of 10 season. I mean, the precipice of the season in terms of the quality of results has been beyond abysmal. But ultimately, a 5 out of 10 season, or source of 5 out of 10 season, still a successful season nonetheless. So, there is that. But as for the Sheffield United Tottenham prediction, I think just a solid 2-0. Solid 2 or 3-0, maybe even a 4-0 for Tottenham in this game. Sheffield United probably just won't have anybody there. They might just watch it for the sake of it being the last day in the Prem, and that's it. Because then the next game they'll be attending are the pre-season games and then championship games. Will that Sheffield United team get promoted again? No chance. Sorry. If you want to be a yo-yo club, Sheffield United, no chance. Too many championship teams out there that will do better than you. Way too many. So, yeah, for me, Tottenham, clear favourites in this game. And, that seals the deal for the Premier League predictions for those games, the final scorelines of the season. You know what my thoughts are on the games. You know what my thoughts are about the matches for Sunday. And quick summary, a couple minutes on some names, some transfer news talking about coming up into the summer. Very much increasing temperature is the story about Michael Olise from Crystal Palace. United want to go into that clause. They want to go and get stuck into that clause. They want to talk the talk. Let's see, what's this clause all about, Crystal Palace? Let's have a conversation. If there's something we can do to sweeten the deal a bit. Now, if United sign Michael Olise by way of their release clause, the apparently complicated release clause, somebody suggested that it's 60 million again, which is probably, it's probably not the case. It's probably actually be cheaper, because most clauses that get overstated tend to end up being cheaper. Fuzzy, I don't know the score, but who's in the playoff final? By the looks of it, it's looking like it's going to be Leeds versus Southampton. Yeah, so it's going to be Leeds versus Southampton. Southampton won against West Brom 3-1, and Leeds beat Norwich 4-0. So Southampton versus Leeds for the final promotion spot. So is it going to be, well, two of the clubs that were relegated last season will be featuring potentially for the last promotion spot this season. So watch this space. Could be an entertaining game. But yes, Michael Olise, genuine. So the mood they're describing with the Michael Olise stuff, quietly confident. And I think what needs to be the case with this is that it's decisive. The decisive decisive elements about how we do the business, and it needs to be quick. The second Crystal Palace have finished their season, there needs to be major transfer talks, literally major transfer talks. Before we've even got to the FA Cup final, Man United should be trying to sign them. They're having the conversations about that release clause, trying to figure out what's what, the details of it, and ultimately then start to try and seal the deal. And Michael Olise, if he is to be the first signing for Man United in this summer, I think is a quality signing. Question marks about player fitness with the injury records and all of that, plus then tie into our injury probability. Our medical facilities are just beyond a joke. At least you can rehabilitate with swimming lessons. We're quite good at that. Except instead of like pool water, you're doing it in piss water. Because that's kind of what leaks out of Trafford. Rainwater and piss. So enjoy if you do get injured at Manchester United. But yeah, for me, solid would be really solid first signing for Man United in the summer, if that becomes the case. And a really good creative player who could play out wide, who would aid in the build-up, especially down the wider areas of the pitch. Having somebody that's got a great eye for a pass down there, that's not about seeing the goal and shooting from 40 yards. I think somebody that's got the ability to be more patient on the pitch, and just having a bit of patience, a bit of tactical nous, a bit of tactical awareness as well. And I think would be a good addition, a much, much desperately needed addition in the attacking lineups for Manchester United. So who's my favourite to win the playoffs? I think, for me, Joe, I think Southampton, and I think they'll probably do it on penalties. I think it'll be 2-2 in the main game in the regulation time, and it will stay that way through to penalties. And I think Southampton will take it at the very last. You guys in the chat, let me know what you in the comment section as well. Let me know what your predictions for the games will be as well. The striker situation. Now, initially, we were tied to Benjamin Sesko at RB, I think it's Leipzig or Salzburg, one of those two clubs. But Benjamin Sesko, somebody we've been previously linked to, somebody with a striker profile quite similar, I find, to Rasmus Højlund. And in terms of level of experience, I feel like, yeah, that's going to be, for me, Benjamin Sesko is like you trying to take the risk that you did with signing Højlund, but banking on it working out twice over. And I don't think if you're Man United, you can take that sort of a chance. So Benjamin Sesko was the first name mentioned. And then we've started to hear that Ivan Toney is going to be said to be a preferred alternative to the it will probably be the preferred alternative to Benjamin Sesko, and I'm all for it. I am all for it. I think much better experience factor. Premier League proven is always a nice bonus. By all means, it is. A very, very technically gifted, and I think having somebody like that with Erasmus Højlund, there's plenty that Rasmus can learn, and just having a striker dynamic, genuinely just a striker dynamic that works out, that brings good balance to the team. So yeah, for me, Ivan Toney, if you're going from Benjamin Sesko to Ivan Toney, I'll give you that. You're doing something right. You're doing something right. Southampton for me too, and 4-3. Is that 3-3 after 4-3 after pens, or is that 4-3 in regulation time? Because one hell of a game that would be. Carl Rossi, hey Fuzzy, how we doing? How you doing, Carl? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. And long-haired Yeti, how we doing? How was your playoff watch along? Was the game good? I know Southampton won their game 3-1, but divulge us in the quality, the entertainment factor. Because I do feel like, even though it's a championship game, championship games are actually, some championship games are actually like really, really entertaining to watch. Even though sometimes the quality is just like, it makes you want to pull your hair out, but the intensity of the game is great. It's fantastic. But big ups to Yeti as well. Big up Prick. The ABBA singing Prick. Gimme a prick after midnight. That's Anthony Herbert's version of the ABBA song. So, yeah. But, yeah, all good stuff. All good stuff. But, yeah, do you know what? End of the season, as I've stated, as I alluded to at the start of the stream, yeah, I'm sort of feeling a bit, it's like a bittersweet. It's like it's bitter because it was such a bad season, but it's sweet as like, you're glad that it's over. You're glad that you get to put it behind you. You're glad that you get to just wash the blood and the mud off your hands after mass murdering loads of people. No, I'm just joking. Don't go around mass murdering people, but you're feeling dirty after watching all of that horrendous football all season long. The underwhelming ups and the tragic downs. It's great just to be. It's like the weight is lifted off of your shoulders, and it's like you just watch a club dynamic now start to unfold and see what it's all about. So it's going to be an interesting watch for the Man United faithful, seeing what it is Ineos are all about. Because now, it's time for change. The time for talk is coming to a close. Then time for action will begin. And if the action is good, then we are very much in the realms of a new era at Manchester United. But if it is all just talk and the same old disappointing nonsense or panicky business, then yeah, we're in all kinds of dire straits. But I've a quiet optimism, I'd say, a quiet optimism about the summer transfer window. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be glass half full. I will be that glass half full of chocolate milk, which I'm going to get back to drinking once I've finished this, because water is also important, people. Water is very much important, not unless you live down in Devon. If you're living down in Devon, then I'm sorry, but you're roided with parasites if you're drinking water down there. Because yeah, not only that, but don't worry, it's okay. Your local MP says he's so sorry. He's really sorry for half of you getting the shits from drinking your tap water. It's okay, guys. It's all part of the process. Trust the process. If you're down in Devon, trust the process. Trust the tap water process. It is coming full circle, people. It's coming full circle. But guys, my voice is absolutely. I've literally gone on non-stop talking for about nearly 2 hours now. Over an hour and 3/4, non-stop talking. Yeah, God, my voice feels as dry as a nun's vag. Crazy stuff. But found out that Yeti's real name is Gordon. Can we get a confirmation on that? Can we get a confirmation on that? Can we get VAR to check on that? Quick, VAR, check it before they kick it out of football. But yeah. But guys, I'm going to finish things off there, I think. I feel absolutely knackered. I'm going to Devon in August. Hope I don't get the shits. Just don't drink the tap water. Whatever you do, literally just bottled water from a supermarket. As long as it's not sourced from Devonshire. If it's sourced from up north somewhere, then you should be fine. But yeah, kind of like Buxton, something like that. But yeah, should be interesting. But yes, guys, thank you very much to everybody that has watched this show, and not just for this show as well. Also, big thank yous to everybody that's watched any and all of my match preview shows. It has been a blast. It has been a pleasure to bring you match predictions, my thoughts and verdicts on games right the way throughout the season, and having each and everybody join me in these shows and play a crucial part of my chat as well, which has really brought my streams to life, and has it's been a very, very thoroughly enjoyable experience. Of course, I'm not saying this because it's going to be the end of what was. I mean, it might be the end because Southgate could still get the United job against all circumstances, which would be the end of my channel if that were to happen. So if Southgate doesn't get the job, don't think this is goodbye. If Southgate does get the job, then yes, consider this as goodbye. But never mind. That's that. That's just if buts and maybes. But yeah, for me, fantastic community that I've had the support of. And to be fair, it's been about this sort of time last year when I started the channel as well. So it's been a bit of a journey, and what a journey for the first year of YouTube it's been. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. a fantastic community that has built up over time, and genuinely fantastic support as well from everybody, from all different backgrounds as well, but also the generosity of other content creators with inviting me onto their shows, and also likewise as well the generosity for people to take time out of their day to be on my shows as well. Obviously, big thank yous to everybody who has featured um, on my channel and has allowed me to feature on theirs. It's honestly been a fantastic experience all around, and it's an honour and a privilege to do so. So long may that continue, and a big thank you to everybody that has been there supporting the channel. If you did enjoy this sort of season closer stream, then do be sure to smash that like on the way out, or if you're watching on playback, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, or if you are new. Don't forget, in terms of other people you can sub to as well, Long-Haired Yeti does as many of the watch alongs as possible for football across the season. Literally barely ever misses a game. So if you like and enjoy watch along content, one of the best places on YouTube to get watch along content as well. So and not just from a perspective of getting a viewpoint on the game for someone's verdict on the game, but rather just the conversations that you can have as well there. Yeah, plenty of entertainment there. So do be sure to also drop this man right here, Long-Haired Yeti, aka Gordon, as per Anthony Herbert. You know, Flash Gordon. Give Flash Gordon a subscription there as well, people. But yes, big ups to everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's true Yeti's real name. I know he's told me his real name in DMs, but I've already forgotten what the real name is, to be fair. I literally have forgotten. But yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Friday nights. On the cusp of a weekend, the last Premier League weekend of the season. It's going to be a banger. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you again very soon. Ciao for now.